Let's create a budget. Let's get out of debt. Let's build wealth. Guys, welcome back to the channel. So continue on with the step-by-step process on basically getting out of debt, creating a budget, and building wealth. I just wanted to, before we move on, say that, I know that this could probably be overwhelming. So, that's why I'm trying to make it step by step, because it's hard to get all of this knowledge into someone and get them up to a level within a few videos. So on this one, I'm just gonna do a little recap. So step 1 is what is velocity banking, and step 2 is how does velocity banking work. So the whole point in all of this is to make sure that you understand what it is that you're doing, and to get to a point where when the questions come, obviously you'll be learning your whole life. That's part of it. I'm still learning. People learn their entire life. There's never, you'll get to a point to where you can't learn, because each of these can be broken down. I often think of these kind of like an engine, depending on how well, how much more horsepower can you get out of an engine, or how much more torque, or, and this is kind of the same way. It's like you get to a point where, you just want to keep learning. And so I make these videos and I call them step 1, 2, 3, etc., so that people will be able to follow it. I didn't want to jump straight into how this works without giving a understanding to, understanding what it is that you're doing and trying to accomplish. And we're going to get a lot more into this. So step 1 and 2 is basically just learning. You're basically learning how velocity banking works, since it'll be the accelerator in all of this, and to reach goals a lot faster and to get to a point in your life a lot quicker, because that's just our human nature. We want to get things done and get to our goals as quickly and as fast as possible, and velocity banking, utilizing this strategy, will accelerate that. That next step would be infinite banking. The infinite banking concept is what I found during all of my research, a way to build wealth by not basically growing tax-free. It has a death benefit to keep that wealth going in your family even after you're gone, and even after your kids are gone. You teach it to your kids, and they teach it to their kids and grandkids, so on and so forth. And it has every quality that we need to be a foundation for all of this. The infinite banking is, to me, I'm only eight or 9 months into it. I will do a review at a year to update you on the progress. I don't really, I like going through something before I fully explain it, but my research has shown that this is definitely the building foundation that I need to, create wealth. So the infinite banking concept, I want you guys to understand what it is, how it works, do your research, of course, and that's the third step. So basically steps 1, 2, and 3 is just understanding the tools and the strategies that will be used to create this wealth. Step 4 is the design. Step 5 is the flow. The design and flow, this video is going to be on the model and actually how to put it into practical life. But I kind of want, by seeing a design and a flow, it's just good to know and understand. It's if you're going to be building a vehicle, and it's better to, if you're driving a car, right? You buy a car, you drive the car, you know how it works, you can drive it. But if something happens to it, you don't. If you built that car yourself, you know how much you can trust it. If you're buying a used car, you really never know what you're getting. But if you built the car yourself, you know what it can stand and withstand, and how hard you can drive it, or how much you can push the limit. So that's the same with this. I want you to get a fully understanding of it, because not only, will you be able to handle anything that comes your way, but you'll be able to pass this on and just build a stronger, for your family. You personally know already what you have to go through, and you don't want your kids to. Everybody wants the best for their kids, and this is a way to do it. I mean, I know, people sacrifice and give up a lot for their kids, but if your kids are going to follow your same example and sacrifice and give up for their kids, it's like you need some kind of plan or design to where it'll be beneficial, where these kids, instead of, at 16, 17, 18 years old, jumping out there getting a job right away, they can actually explore their talents. They can pause for a minute and see what they actually like to do. I believe that there's a lot of talent wasted in this world because no one ever really had a chance to get to flourish or get to see what they could have done if they weren't working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, or if they weren't spending that time. I mean, it could be, and it's not the talent, it could be inventions. It can be, preachers, teachers, it could be a lot of different things that people could have done if they weren't so occupied with having to put food on the table, working 50, 60 hours a week, trying to make ends meet. And, and there's a lot of broken families out there, and, struggling moms, single moms and single dads with kids and struggling, and they never get a chance to explore what they could have accomplished. You never know what they could have accomplished. So this is kind of, that's why I want people to understand this, to get the whole picture of it, and to build that wealth for their kids and their future generations. So the next step is the model, and I didn't plan on this actually going this long. I was just going to jump right into it and do a quick review, but sometimes I just start talking. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, the next video I'll make the actual how the model works. So I'll just give you all a quick overview of the model. So we have our designs here, like the debt tool, getting out of debt, basically your income going into that debt tool, chucking that debt, getting out of debt. And then you have, the building wealth part, and then the flow of it. So how do we put this into a model that we can use every day? So what I did was I took the concept of combining. The idea is to use velocity banking to get out of debt and build wealth, and to follow a flow in that. And then the problem with this is, as everyone knows, every time you try to start to do something, there's something always comes up. There's a problem, and that would stop that flow. So the idea came that by having your own bank, becoming your own banker, instead of having money sitting in a typical checking account where you're gaining 0.01%, or, in a CD where you're tied up, the bank will, your money can sit there, and in essence it's kind of working already for you while it's sitting there, and then you can access it at any time without penalty and without any rules or restrictions, like a 401k or something, like saying that you can only take out once a year, you have to pay back a certain amount, and you'll get penalized if you try to take out too much. So it's perfect vehicle to have that freedom to never stop this flow from going on. So to have the infinite banking going, to have the velocity banking going, what I did was I took this model and this design and flow and put it into a Excel sheet, to where the calculations can be done, for you. Now, I do have included in the description below is my course. Is called the Complete Course of Financial Freedom. Included in that course is a copy of this Excel sheet. I was thinking about this Excel sheet. If you guys would like to see how I actually built this, if that interests any of you guys, if I could get at least 5 or 6 people to say they're interested, I'll actually do a video and show you step by step how to create this. If not, you can sign up for the course, and it breaks it down, tells you exactly how to use it. But you can do this on paper, but obviously the whole point in all of this is that easy, because it's human nature to do things the easiest possible. And you know, I've heard this saying said over and over that if you want something done quickly and easily, give it to a lazy person. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, they're lazy. It's just some people will find faster and better ways of doing things. So, you know, this is basically the design. So, you know, I'll quickly run through this. So to make this so simple, basically, right, you have all your income. Your income will go into your checking account. So you'll enter the amount that you have in your checking account. And let me put some income expenses in here. Well, I'll just show you. So on the settings page, I have a settings page, and on this settings page, you'll enter your monthly income. So let's just put an income in there. And then bills, let's do, okay. So you enter what your checking account says, and then in the velocity banking part, it does it for you automatically. So basically, you know, all income will come into your checking account. In velocity banking, that checking account will then go into the line of credit. So it goes straight into the checking account and then straight into the line of credit. So what I did was, if you have zero in your checking account and your income goes into your checking account, it'll then come back out and go into your line of credit. So the way I built this was, right, you have zero in your checking account, 5,000 comes in, 5,000 goes into your line of credit. So this keep checking account at, it's basically 1 month of expense. So this, where it's telling you to keep your checking account at, is your 0 point in that account. So when that cash flows, if you have 4,450 in your checking account, when that 5,000 flows into here, it's going to tell you to transfer the 5,000 is basically just going to come right back out. So to explain this, basically your bills, see, this has a lot of components to make it really easy. It's easy to pay your bills. It's easy, not because budgeting and bills is a huge part of the driving force of all of this, right? Your cash flow is the most important. Generating the cash flow is basically what turns and makes this whole thing work. So, you know, your cash flow, when you have your bills, paying bills is part of the problem. You know, it's part of the problem. So this makes it easy. Basically, you pay your bills once a week. Sorry, I'm rambling a bit, guys, because I didn't plan on this video being this long, but let me just basically, so your income comes into your checking account, you enter that here, and then your checking account, it'll go into your line of credit. This is going to automatically tell you what to transfer to your line of credit. So you're going to transfer 550 to your line of credit. So this is basically building up. Once you have the 4,450 in here, it now becomes basically the velocity banking. So if your income 5,000 comes in here, you'll have 9,450, and it's going to tell you to transfer the 5,000 straight into your line of credit. So this is a buffer that I'll get into in the next video, but it puts this flow into a working model. And then, right, you'll chunk at debt. It's going to tell you how much to chunk at your debt, you know, because you're building this debt tool back up, and once that debt tool is built back up, you'll chunk, and then you'll be building it back up, and it's going to tell you to constantly transfer into your debt, and then it's going to tell you to chunk. And once you chunk at debt, this is going to reset back to 0. And then you have the banking part of this. So if you have an emergency, right, like we talked about earlier, if you got this flow going here and you don't want to ever interrupt that flow, and let's say you have your car, all of a sudden you have a transmission problem, you'll enter that amount. Let's say it costs you $1,200. It's going to tell you to use it, a bank calculator. So I have a built-in amortized calculator here that you'll enter that loan amount. So let's say that loan is $1,200. You can, you know, depending on your cash flow, you would choose how long to finance this. Understand that this, you know, the longer you put here, the longer it's going to take to build that bank back up. So if there's another emergency that happens right after that, depending on how much you got in there, and this is where you kind of gauge on what you could do. If it's telling you, you know, if you want to pay it off and your payments is $102.73. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the bills page. You're going to add this just like a bill. So you'll put policy loan 1, and it was 112 or whatever it was. So you add that as a bill. Now, if your cash flow, if you only had like 500 or 400 in cash flow, you could actually make this 36 months, which would lower that payment a little bit. And then you only have a $36 payment. That payment will build your bank back up. You know, if you already have the funds in there, then you don't have to worry about it. But, you know, it builds it back. And then that is your first line of defense when something happens. So that's where you kind of have to start getting the idea and the picture and seeing that this is a strategy, right? I mean, you're taking a chance basically that, you know, you fix the transmission and God forbid or something happens, you end up getting in a wreck, and then now it's going to cost you $2,700 to have it fixed. You would put $2,700, and then you would go to the bank. You'll need to have $2,700, and you know, if you try to do that in 12 months, it'll be $231. And this bill, this one isn't paid off yet. So you would add policy loan 2, which is 200 and what was it? $231. So you see, I mean, the good thing about this, your cash flow is being reduced lower and lower, but at the same time, you know, you got $350 going back into your bank. So that cash flow is temporarily lowered, and it won't, the flow will still be going. So this flow will still be going. It's just building this part up, building your debt tool back to be able to use again. It's going to take a little bit longer now because your cash flow is, you know, decreased temporarily until you get that back to where it needs to be. So that's kind of the basic design. I didn't really get much into it like I wanted to. I didn't plan on doing the little steps in the beginning of this video. So not to keep it too long, I'll just, in the next video, I'll go over more of the breakdown behind it. So that's basically putting this into a working model. And then I know this might have been a little bit confusing, but I will break it down further. And we're going to basically dissect this and show exactly how it works, how the flow works, and how to stay on that wealth curve and not get off track. So guys, thank you for watching this video. Again, as always, if you found value in it, I appreciate a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.